What's up, guys? Joel with Punishers Paintball. Today we are doing a loader comparison between the brand new Spire 4. We have a Spire 3 here as well as a Bunkerkings control loader. We're going to talk about all three with a specific focus on the brand new Spire 4.
Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and that like button and follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook.
Alrighty, guys, so here we are with the brand new Spire 4. We just started to get our shipments in on these. We actually have my old Spire 3. Keegan's got that in hand. And first things first, so why don't we talk about the outside appearance first, Keegan? As you can tell, there's not like a significant difference if you're out on the field. Only the trained eye is going to be able to identify the differences. So
I think that the thing that you are going to notice first off with the differences is instead of having Spire 3 or Spire 4 across the side of it, they just put a giant Virtue emblem across the side of the gun.
Yeah, and it's plastic. It's not a loader. So it's plastic and it's embossed.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than the Spire 3, which was actually just a sticker. It does kind of make me curious as far as if they end up doing color kits for the Spire 4, how they're going to work that into the color kit. But overall, I do like this. It does seem like a little nicer quality than just like the sticker that came on the Spire 3. The other thing too is that they also made it a thicker trim around the outside of the Spire 4 compared to the Spire 3. It's a little bit thinner there. Obviously these Spire 4s come in a million different colors.
How about the back center? It also says something different too. It's got actual Spire 4.
So good point, Doug. So the Spire 4 says, the IV. The initial Spire 4s that came with the Virtue Ace was just 4 Roman numerals, so that's if you were a pre-order customer, you kind of got a special edition Spire 4. But yeah, that is a nice feature there. But overall, on the actual shell profile, there's really no significant difference between the two.
You could probably put the tray from either one of them interchangeably. Like just buy the tray from a Spire 4, put it in your Spire 3.
That is true. That's a good point. And we'll get in. Here in a second, we're going into what makes the Spire 4 different than the Spire 3. But overall, one thing that I'd like to mention is that there are new colors. I like the fact that Virtue went with the graphic colors first, which is the it's almost like it looks like a black camo graphic design, as well as like a chromatic design for the colors. They have all kinds of different colors: blue, green, chrome, what am I missing, red, and amethyst, which is a purple. So basically you're going to be able to match the color of your color of your gun with any single color Spire 4 that you want. That is a really nice feature.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to mention is, Keegan, why don't you talk about the speed feed?
Speed feed, exactly the same. They didn't do any change with it. You can still use your NTR or your Crown 3 speed feed. Both are interchangeable. You can take it off of your old Spire 3 and just slide it on.
Out here.
Yeah, and just slide it on to your Spire 4 or vice versa.
There you go. All right, so now we're going to get into what makes the Spire 4 different. So we're going to pop open our hinge system, which is the exact same on the Spire 3. The spring ramp is exactly the same. We did notice that the drive cone on the Spire 4 is slightly different, but when actually inspected on visual inspection, it's the exact same. Like, there's literally nothing different about it.
Yeah.
It's just a different color. So we're going to pop open this and kind of get into two major differences between the two. First off, the firmware that comes with the Spire 4, you are able to Bluetooth speak to the Virtue Ace. The Virtue Ace is a Lux X edition that Virtue released. Has a different board that is able to basically Bluetooth speak to the Spire 4, and the Spire 4 is really nice when it comes to that. It's a flawless system. The Spire 4 is meant to pair with the Virtue Ace and identifies the eyes on the Virtue Ace as the first detection system when it comes to feeding. And then if for some reason the eyes are dirty on the Virtue Ace, then it goes to, what does it go to, Doug?
It goes to the trigger, yeah. So it starts by detecting if there's anything in the breech, but if there's an eye fault, it then goes to whether or not you're pulling the trigger, and that'll rotate the cone. We can do a video on that whole connection later. And then the third thing, if all hell breaks loose on that, it's just going to keep the ball stack full. That's one of the big things with the actual software on how it feeds. Is if it's on anything other than the Ace, it's just making sure that the ball stack is constantly full of paint.
Yep. So what Doug means by that is it's spinning. Put your finger in there, and it goes by tension. If you vibrate again, as you can see, it's stuck. Boom. So there you go. That is a difference. And then the other thing that we like to mention is that if you look really closely here on the side, you can see that it plugs in here. So it makes it very simple if you want a Virtue in charge, which is something that I prefer with the Spire 3 or Spire 4. The in charge is really nice because it's rechargeable first off, goes by micro USB, but then on top of that, it's also significantly lighter than rocking 3 AA's, which is nice. So you can probably tell the difference, Keegan, between the in charge that we have in the Spire 3 as compared to the Spire 4, but they made it really simple. The issue with the Spire 3 was, in order to get it off, you actually had to bend some metal prongs off the board, and then to install the Virtue in charge when you took the battery pack off. So that is a very nice touch. What do you think, Keegan?
Personally, I think it's very similar to the Spire 3, and it is. The only main difference that to me would be worth it is the programming. I feel like since the Spire 3 has Bluetooth already, Virtue probably could have came out with an update for the Spire 3s, but instead decided to make an entirely new loader. I think that the software definitely is nice, and that it's better to have, and it's better for your gun. You're not going to see as many chops while you're playing.
Well, also it kind of pairs into the mechanical side of things. I think one of the biggest problems was, mechanical players, even though the Spire 3 is probably arguably the best loader on the market, a lot of players would end up using a tension-fed loader such as the Die Rotor LTR or the Die R2 because it was strictly off of tension. Now with this continuous feed mechanism and everything else like that, Virtue has kind of geared themselves to get back into the mechanical side of things because that is a very popular thing right now. So that is nice. But to your point, Keegan, I understand what you're saying. But it's kind of one of those things. Why fix anything that's not broken? And the Virtue Spire 3 was an excellent loader. Spire 4 software updates is a good point. I think that they touched on the few things that they could have done. Let's talk about the control a little bit because you personally use the control.
I do.
We can kind of compare the Spire 4 to the control, which is the other high-end loader out on the market right now. So profile-wise,
the control sits much lower. It's a wider, shorter profile. I personally like it because coming out of the snake or while snapping out, it seems to be more balanced. That was one of the main two things that Bunkerkings were going for with this loader. They were trying to make it the lightest loader, but not only that, the most balanced. And so it is very similar to the Spire 3, other than in shape mainly, and just kind of how it's put together. Instead of having a hinge, you just have a top shell that comes off. I've had no problems with it coming off, which was my main concern, but haven't had a single issue with it yet. And then you can see in here that how they positioned everything is a bit different. You have 2 spring ramps rather than just the single one in the Spire 3 and the Spire 4.
I'm going to pop it out so people can kind of see.
So there it is. You have your top and your rear. Unfortunately, it is an additional cost that you have to do.
Yeah, it is not. So the Spire 4 comes with the spring ramp already installed. It's part of purchasing the loader. With the control, you don't get that dual spring ramp. You unfortunately just get a flat tray. So that is something to consider when you're purchasing, trying to make the decision between the two.
Yeah, another big thing on the actual tray is the drive cone is a bit different.
It's lighter.
It's a lot lighter.
Yep.
They cut, what would you say?
Probably
that
about
is?
half the plastic.
least-
Yeah,
at least off the drive
at least
cone.
half the plastic off the drive cone
Mm-hmm.
to help make it the lightest loader out there.
Yep.
And if you were to have one of these drive cones, it does fit in the Spire
show them.
4 and the Spire 3.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll pop this into there. As you can see, very simple. Pops right in. So that is nice too. If you're trying to save as much weight as possible, then basically you can pop that in. You can also pop the end charge in. Very simple things to switch out. If you want to use the Spire 3 instead of using the control, you can do that, which is really nice.
Yeah. Another one of the differences that I should have said while pulling it out is that it's a magnetic tray rather than clipping it in.
Yep.
It's just magnetic, pops in and out real easily.
Yeah. So yours just pulls out.
Yeah.
And with the Spire 4, you push this tab forward and it lifts out. So
Yeah.
slightly different. I do like the magnetic
Yeah.
version of that.
It is
I
very
probably
nice.
prefer that. You know.
Yeah. Another part that is magnetic is on all of these Spires. You can kind of take the drive cone piece out.
Yep.
And it's also magnetic on the control versus also being clips and hinges on the Spire 4.
Okay.
So that's,
Something definitely to consider there.
yeah, that's a very minor difference, but
So two things that I like to mention. Those are all pros to the control over the
Yep.
Spire 4. What I'd like to say is that the Spire 4 holds 20 extra balls because
Yes.
you're a control advocate. I'm
I
a
am.
Spire advocate, so we're going to have a little debate here. So I personally like the Spire 4 more because they're holding 20 more balls, okay? And I'm a back guy, so I'm shooting more paint. But not only that, the plastic on the control just doesn't seem as nice.
it is
Nearly
pretty
as
thin
nice. Yeah.
and
It's
flexible.
kind of flimsy. Yeah.
Personally, I've used it for basically since it came out. And I haven't had a single problem. It's the only hopper that I use, and I haven't. This is the original one that I got.
Yep.
Haven't had any issue with it at all. I'm a front snake player, so I'm constantly diving, throwing my gun all over the place, and I have yet to have any issue with the plastics bending, breaking, popping off.
I know that there was a few issues with the speed feed.
Yeah.
Popping open with the initial batch of
Yep.
controls, but since then they fixed the problem. There's no issues there.
Yep.
If it's the control or if it's the NTR speed feed as well as the Crown speed feed, which is nice. And the other thing too is like with the Spire 4, you can pop a 280 top shell on it. With that, you're kind of limited to only a 200 round capacity.
Yeah.
But for a front guy, it's probably gonna make sense on the control side of things. Whereas the Spire 4, it gives you a little bit more versatility when it comes to that. So
one of the other things that is different is that the control loader has an angle indicator. It's this piece here. It's supposed to be set from the back center to a back corner. And as you tilt the gun, it tells you, okay, this is the angle that you should be shooting at. Personally, I don't think I've ever looked at it during a game. But it's one of those additional things that's like, might be nice at some point, but for the most part, you're probably not going to use it. And so
it's not something you're going to be looking at during
Yeah.
a game, but it is something that you might use while you're training or something else
Yeah.
like that. So that was a good point. So was there anything else that we missed that we should touch on?
Keegan, can you turn on your control real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah,
it is a hold rather than a...
You hold the button in, and the way that it feeds and the speed that it feeds. Here, turn that off, and then Joel, can you do that for the Spire 4?
Yeah.
And open that up.
So it's roughly about the same. The other thing that I like to mention is that I feel that the button with the Spire 4 is extremely easy to press because it's on the back side of the loader.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the control loader, that was probably one of my biggest beefs with the control was the fact that to turn it on, you have to go underneath it. And it's not necessarily an easy button to press.
You also
like
have to hold it.
Yeah, you have to hold it, and it's like very difficult. So like if your loader is not like really tight onto your feed neck, you turn it, you possibly kind of pull it off the feed neck a little bit.
Yeah.
Something also to consider.
It is also pretty difficult to turn on with gloves on.
Yeah, 'cause you can't
you'll
find
see
the button.
me
Yeah.
going out onto the field doing kind of one of these, trying to turn it on.
Yeah.
Because I can't hit it with my thumb and just slide it under.
Now, something I'm noticing just from being a Spire user myself, and right now I have the Spire 3, is that both the Spire 4 and the Control both seem to feed faster, like just the way they spin as you're
at idle.
Yeah, the idle
at
spin.
idle, 100%.
It's set faster than the Spire 3. So
Yeah.
I think, and Joel, to your point of being really good for mech, I think they had that in mind.
Yeah.
When they were developing these new things.
Absolutely. So, all right, well, that pretty much concludes our Spire 4 versus Spire 3 versus Control comparison video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on all social media, and we'll see you next time.